James Bond has been targeted by feminists for decades, and when so many of them are running rampant within the video game industry, it's no shocker to hear that the brand new 007 First Light game is going to feature a younger, more modern James Bond, because old school Bond would be tone deaf today. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, 007 has always been targeted and forever will be, and that's why so many people in Hollywood have worked towards modernizing this character. It's why we've seen female Bond discussions pop up, and now we are getting this video game with this younger Bond who's new to the scene, and it seems that they did this very intentionally because they wanted him to be a modern guy with modern values, which I think, of course, is ridiculous. I think it's perfectly fine for there to be male characters in entertainment that are womanizers. I think that it is honestly fun to see because they're so rare nowadays. I think that it is perfectly fine for a man to flirt with women, find them attractive, and just to be total badasses in media. I don't think that that's a problem. I don't really know why any woman would get offended by a fictional character like objectifying another woman. But of course, this has been a hot topic for a very long time. There have been a lot of feminists over the decades that have attacked James Bond, and now it seems that this video game, yes, is going in a very modern direction, which, judging by some of the race swaps and some of the female designs in this game, I think we already were worried, but it's always good to be cautiously optimistic, right? Oh, well, maybe the trailers don't do the game justice. I think the gameplay itself looks pretty fun, even though it doesn't really feel like James Bond in my opinion, but now I think that a lot of people are going to lose hope. So it says the 007 First Light developer IO Interactive has said that their version of James Bond won't be anything like the old school spy of the 1960s, a decision the studio claimed would be tone deaf today. I think that it is very hard to do a modern Bond. I think that James Bond works better as a period piece, and what really irked me about this is we're only getting this standalone game. They have no plans for a follow-up. I suppose if this does $1 billion in sales, they'll greenlight a sequel, but I thought that it would have been really cool if they did a trilogy and it was in this case, 27-year-old Bond, then a 37-year-old Bond, then a 47-year-old Bond, so you could see him mature and turn into the character we all know and love, but that's not happening. And apparently, the old school spy that, by the way, everybody loves and is the reason why James Bond is so successful is too old school and tone deaf today, which I think is an insane statement to make, because the people who maybe grew up loving Bond that are older, the people who have watched Bond over the years, who've fallen in love with the character, they're not going to be happy with this. The only people that are going to like this direction are newbies to the series, and that's not the type of person you want to sell your games to. Sure, I guess in theory you want to sell it to everybody, but you're also pushing away your established audience. It says 007 First Light, the next game from the Swedish studio, is now primed to launch in May 2026 after a short delay. Speaking to Monstervine, Cinematics director Martin Emborg revealed that there will be elements of the smooth-talking Bond that may have come to expect from the franchise. He'll be a modern guy and will reflect modern values. Whenever you hear modern values or modern audience, it is instantly a red flag, because it shows that the people making this series, the people who are making the character that's in this game, do not care about respecting the source material or don't know it at all. However, he went on to explain that the character of Bond has evolved, and when asked at the Game Awards 2025 about whether or not their spy, played by Dexter Original Sin's Patrick Gibson, who by the way is a very good actor and I don't think is a bad choice for a young Bond, will share some of the earlier Bond's characteristics, specifically focusing on the character's womanizer tendencies, explaining that yes, you will see that in a certain capacity, but he has evolved through the decades, and obviously we reflect modern values, so it's not going to be your old school Bond, which would just be tone deaf in this day, right? He is a modern guy, and I think that this is an insane answer to give, because I don't think that old school Bond is inappropriate. I think that that's the Bond that people want to see. Bring masculinity back to video games. I am so sick and tired of seeing male characters be soyified, be toned down, be held back. I want to see a womanizer in my entertainment in every once in a while. I don't think every male character needs to be that way, but some of them do, and I think that that is perfectly fine. I want to see Bond flirting with tons of beautiful women. I actually want there to be beautiful women in entertainment. I think that it's good to have edgy jokes and like inappropriate moments that have happened in this franchise before, but instead you've got them now saying, oh no, he's a modern guy with modern values. Bullshit. This isn't what people want to see. He also said it's really physical because Bond is a very physical guy. It's lots of fun, and I think that's something IO hadn't done before. I think we've also put layers and layers on our ranged combat, like really polishing that and taking that to the next level. So I think everyone at IO has been really hungry to kind of go for that, yeah, as well as big set pieces, trucks, and planes, which again, it doesn't sound like a bad game itself, but when you come out and you make statements about how Bond was previously tone deaf and we need to modernize him, you're going to face backlash, and rightfully so. It is already happening on social media because ultimately we see these companies putting modern values or reflecting modern values in entertainment for an audience that doesn't show up to buy games. This group of sensitive snowflakes are going to say, you know what, no, I'm still going to skip this game because even though you guys did better, it's not good enough. Look at what happened with Hogwarts Legacy. They added a trans character in. There was tons of diversity. Well, we still have to boycott it because of JK, even though she had nothing to do with this game. She's still profiting and we need to boycott it. We see how that boycott failed, but it just shows how small this modern audience really is. Don't they get it? Their values suck and no one else values feminism, race revenge, gay everything, equalhood about everything, etc. Another Microsoft game, nothing new will they ever learn. The name's Bond, gay, wheelchair, Bond. 25, 26 really Bond films with a winning formula on display for over 50 years, and they pull this shit, yeah. We are never going to get back the days of Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan. We're never going to get those amazing versions of this character back unless the industry does a complete 180 and, well, I guess technically it's a 360 because video games used to be super based. We used to see beautiful women, hunky Chad men, so I guess it's not a 180. It's a 180 from where we are now, but really it would be going back to where we were. So you could consider right now the 180 because they've changed the formula over the years. Either way, making good entertainment is very hard for activists because they don't know what good entertainment really is. Imagine Bond saying, "Do I have permission to kiss you?" LOL. AAA studio, stop hiring woke writers for your millennial content, honestly. Modern values is such a wild phrase to hear in game development right now. Totally agree. An old school stealthy spy thriller Bond would print. We would see that selling millions and millions of copies. I genuinely want them one day to come out with two different versions of a similar game. Let's say Microsoft, for example. They come out with in this case, we'll just use Bond for an example, a spy thriller, action-packed, male-focused, womanizer, old-school Bond game. But then they come out with this modern shit and just see which one prints money. It's definitely going to be the first option. I was going to get the Golden Gun Collector's Edition too. I just saved $300. Old school Bond versus modern values Bond. Which one would you like to play? Take my advice, don't play this trash. Go play GoldenEye on the N64 again. And yeah, it is just sad to see this happening. Such a cool character, such a cool idea and concept. And you'd think that it would be extremely easy for them to do. They could just copy and paste one of the movies practically and just just slightly change up the character, but no. They constantly have to modernize, they constantly have to alter. The cultural Marxists in the industry are hell bent on destroying it, and gamers ultimately are willing to boycott. We are willing to pass on titles, and it's just sad to see this happening to another iconic character and story. So I'll be keeping my eye on the situation. The game is still a couple of months away, but it is not looking good for Bond fans. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.